All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Mcubed. Of course, I'm Schmook. I'm here with my good buddy Bradley. Say hello to the audience, Bradley.
What's going on, everybody? I guess I'm also, you could say, a peripheral member of the Mcubed network. As you remember, my show was really about like Arthouse cinema. I purchase new ones all the time. So I'm in the process of reviewing my entire collection of the Criterion Collection DVDs, foreign films and all kinds of stuff of that nature. But it's good to be here with you, Schmooky.
Right. And we look forward to seeing your eventual Criterion Collection reviews. As always, it's great to talk to you, my friend. Of course, we're best buds. We talk about this stuff just on a normal everyday occasion. And we're like,
now we're rolling. So
we'll record it because we have some good insight on a lot of things. But so this is going to be the first video of a long recording that we're going to be doing. The first one we're going to be going over will be about the Batman, our review on it, like what we like, what we dislike, and then comparing it to eventually the DC state as a whole. Where we talk about, like the Snyderverse as well as what DC is attempting to do at this moment in time. We might as well just get right at it. Bradley?
I think so.
What do you think of the Batman?
Okay, I think that we should start at the beginning with kind of our anticipation leading up to the film,
right?
Because I know this for a fact. Compared to everyone else that we know, I mean, me and you we're talking movie news literally every single day. Countless DMs back and forth just with all kinds of movie updates. It's about the characters more than anything. I think next to myself, there's no one I think that cares more about these characters than me and you. So we were always behind this project. First, when it was Ben's film back in 2016 and 2017. Then when it was a Matt Reeves picture, but starring Ben. And then finally, with the destruction of the Snyderverse and the ousting of Ben Affleck, when we revealed that Pattinson would be playing the young Bruce Wayne. All that is to say, I was hyped because I love Robert Pattinson as an actor. My personal favorite performance of his is still the 2018 science fiction film High Life by Claire Denis, where I think he truly proves that, and I hate making this comparison because people have said it so ad nauseum, but he's not in the Twilight era and all of that, but that was almost 2 decades ago. I think that we were on his side from the beginning. I was totally fine with that because I think if, Heath Ledger is a case study where everyone freaked out that he would play the Joker and gives, one of the greatest just cinematic performances of all time.
Right.
People freaked out about Ben Affleck.
Right away. People
freaked out about Ben playing Batman, but they were still the supporters from the beginning, which I was open to it. I never understood why people don't give things a chance or just kind of wait and see. All of that is to say, we were anticipating this film a lot. And I think as Matt Reeves revealed, more and more material from the film, I was just more excited because I was really interested in seeing this, very, very dark, but in a different way than Zach, where Zach's darkness is more operatic and mythological. This was going to be a grungy, dirty, I imagine, type of Batman, a desperate, young, angry Batman. But again, different from Ben's jaded, aged type of anger. This was a more
raw
raw, and an anger that is akin to fury. And I wanted to see that again, that young, raw nature of Batman, where he is much less refined and coming into his own. Again, long story short, I was anticipating this from the beginning, and I remember it was the second trailer that was revealed where it ends with him like jumping down through the roof in that crazy shot that looks kind of like Arkham Knight. I remember saying literally like, bro, this could be the best Batman film ever.
Oh, from that trailer, I had the exact same views. I'm like, dude, we're in for a treat with this one.
We really are. Only somewhat sadly, I will have to say this is not the best Batman film of all time. No. Despite what everyone is saying, this is objectively not the best Batman film.
Right.
Not the best. It's simply not.
It's awesome, but it's not.
It is.
It's not the best at all.
It is not the best. It's just because of the screenplay. That's really the only issue. And I would argue maybe a little bit of the editing. But every other production aspect of this film is top notch,
right?
Which we expect from Reeves.
Right, of course, we get awesome performances from everyone.
Yes,
the visuals are stunning, but of course, you get the guy. I don't remember his name. You would know it, but the guy who did
Greg Fraser.
Greg Fraser, right? Who did like stuff like The Mandalorian, Rogue One, a lot of other things. Dune, which is excellent, all excellent. And of course, used ILM, which is probably the best visual effects company right now.
Some great utilization of the rear projection, stagecraft type of stuff. So cutting edge.
I guess we can just go into what we like and dislike about this movie as a whole. For me, I think Pattinson, he shut up the haters. These are the people who just hate him because they don't watch film as a whole. They're just known for Twilight, where like he's in countless great movies. High Life, Good Times.
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse is excellent. Tenet's amazing.
He's great, fantastic as Neo.
He's fantastic in that movie. Anyway, so these are just people who just see him as the guy in Twilight who played the vampire there.
Harry Potter.
And Harry Potter. But I liked him since Harry Potter, if I'm being honest, because I love Harry Potter. But I think he was a standout guy. Like he's easily my second favorite Batman.
Easily.
Of course, me and Brad, we get a lot of hate and a lot of flack for this, but we love Ben Affleck the most. We think he's the most comic accurate. Everything about him is awesome. Like he's actually a Batman who can stand up to these gods and like be a part of this Justice League, where like almost every other Batman we have had, I could not see being a part of a Justice League team.
Oh no. And even this one.
I mean, it's not necessary, but I just don't get the point of not wanting Batman to eventually be in the Justice League and deal with like these awesome comic book, like supernatural things that we haven't really seen that before. Because I mean, we get kind of like more campy stuff with like the Keaton and
Kilmer, Clooney.
But then we get Bale, which is very realistic, and then we get Pattinson, which is on the edge of possibly getting to the point of comic booky, but it's still set in realism. Where like this guy could easily be out there, but I mean, this Gotham City feels more comic booky to me.
100%.
And what we get in the Nolan trilogy, which is awesome, but that Gotham City doesn't come to life like this one. That is a big plus I have with this film.
100%. Environments.
I think it's the best Gotham City we have seen.
Of course. And that's not, I mean, I think with Zach, Gotham doesn't matter as an entity because his film is not about that.
I will say if we got Ben Affleck's Batman movie, we definitely would have like got a little bit more from Gotham. Like, because again,
Arkham Asylum itself in the Snyder cut is perfect.
It's literally right out of like the Arkham games to me.
Yes. While still, I think giving it a more realistic feel because the Arkham games really are the comic books straight up.
Of course. But I mean, this feels like an Arkham where Ben Affleck's Batman would have went in there and we would have literally seen a movie that's like Arkham Asylum with Ben Affleck's Batman and Deathstroke trying to take him out, which would have been.
Of course. I still think it's possible.
I do as well. I could see them possibly making it like a mini series on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Like a 5 to 6 episode thing, kind of like what the Kenobi show will be, but as a Batman like mini series, which would be sweet.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the Batman first for a little bit, but of course we can jump all over. I mean, this is mainly just a DC video, but we want to talk about the Batman. It just came out. It's fresh. I literally just saw it right before our recording. So it's fresh.
I'm going to see it time number 2 tomorrow.
Right. And this was my second time as well. I don't think I'll watch it again in theaters. It's really long, so I'll probably wait till it's on HBO Max because I don't like having to hold in a piss or whatever. But excellent movie. Again, it's just long. Like there's a lot of sequences and story points that I feel could easily get cut out. Like I wanted this movie to be mostly focused on like the Joker being the main bad guy. Of course, you can have other things in there, like of course, like the mob stuff with Penguin and Falcone. And then, of course, you have Catwoman in there. It's played brilliantly by Zoe Kravitz, but they had a lot of different like subplots that I just don't think are ultimately necessary. To me, I think this Riddler was amazing. I think Paul Dano gave an unbelievable performance in this movie. But of course, there's like 30 to 40 minutes. I swear he doesn't show up. It's a good chunk of the movie. I'm just like, oh, right. That he's the main bad guy of this entire movie and he's just been gone while we're dealing with like what Batman's trying to figure out with the mob boss stuff, like learning like information on his father as the mayor, and which of course the Riddler's still playing a role in this aspect where it's still like the overarching like storyline and detective stuff that Bruce is on.
It's being moved along by the Riddler's plot ultimately.
Yes, but again, we don't see him, and I'm like, whenever Paul Dano is actually on screen, I'm like, dude, he is killing it.
Yeah.
But of course, we don't see him for a while until he eventually kills Falcone, where we get possibly one of the best, I think one of the better scenes from a movie villain, where it's Pattinson talking to the Riddler and Arkham, right?
Yes.
I think that's up there with like the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight, because I think Paul Dano goes nuts in this scene.
Yeah, it's a totally different type of psycho. And I think that, okay, just to keep it, I think in the vein of what I liked, I really think that Pattinson dealing with all of these external factors, I like seeing him stressed out. Like I like seeing him, even though he does keep a very like that type of Batman, like confidence and cool, you can tell that he, especially when it becomes personal with the Waynes, I like that you can see him start to be more emotionally invested in what's going on, because that's always the thing with Batman is he's so hyper logical. He's so intelligent that he has a singular laser focused will power and mental power. I like seeing him get unraveled, especially where Alfred is now affected. It's fantastic to me.
I mean, of course, it gets ultimately personal for him when Alfred almost gets taken out instead of him, where the Riddler tries to kill Bruce Wayne. So, I mean, it's all getting to a point where he's just super, pissed off at this character, the Riddler, and that's why we get an awesome scene. Honestly, possibly it's up there for one of my favorite Batman scenes we've seen in film, where it's him talking to the Riddler in Arkham, where he's literally like, what have you done? Like hitting the glass, and it's awesome. Yes. And then you just have the Riddler just singing Ave Maria, and it's just like, it's creepy. And it's like,
it's creepy. It's very creepy. And I think that, okay, I guess I can kind of get into the more of my problem with the Riddler, right. But it's not the performance. It's again, It's how Reeves conceives of and writes the character into the screenplay. I just don't think that he got it in terms of the Riddler. Okay. Where he's not the Zodiac killer and he's not John Doe from Seven. That can be a different character.
I think it should be like Hush or something.
Yes, I was going to say Thomas Elliot, who's referenced in this film, and I think will come into play, I think, part of Riddler's revenge in the second film.
But, well, I think that could be saved for the end of the trilogy, where I think the second movie will just deal like with something else, like Batman trying to clean up Gotham from the crime underworld, and another villain arises, and possibly Joker. Who knows? Maybe Mr. Freeze. I think that'd be cool. But I just see like the third movie could have the Hush character where it brings everything that we've had so far in this universe like collide. And this is where like the Batman goes through insane hardship. My thing is Pattinson's pretty young and this is a young Batman. So frankly, it's kind of like what you can do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where you have time to possibly make like 3 trilogies if you want to, like have like a saga of these movies.
Of course. And I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Pattinson truly evolve into sort of the prime Batman.
Right. And that's what we're seeing with Spider-Man too. That's what I see like this trilogy will mirror with what we've seen in Spider-Man from Marvel. He grows into this persona where by the end of No Way Home, Spider-Man is Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Where this one, at the end of this movie, you get that a little bit where this is Batman becoming like the hero, not just the guy who is out for vengeance,
Absolutely. This is my thing in regards to the Riddler. I would have liked to see, and it's hinted at, Reeves has to know on some level. I'm just very curious about why this aspect of the Riddler wasn't touched upon, which is like his main real driving like motivation for doing his whole plot. And of course, I think this comes into play. I have that one statement. I saw a post online that I wanted to touch on eventually, just about how the movie really makes, I think it's grasping for depth. Reeves, not trying, but wants to make a quasi-political statement, but he really doesn't make any, because Riddler has this kind of corruption type of thing where like he hates the elites of Gotham because he's an orphan and like I guess he was in an underfunded like orphanage, while Bruce, from Riddler's perspective, it's like, did he really suffer because it's like he's rich, nothing really mattered.
Like your parents get murdered, but like you're gonna be fine, where I'm literally like trying to cling on to life, barely getting fed and freezing almost to death every night. So
exactly,
like he has a vendetta against the elite, which would make sense,
right? And that brings me back to again of like, that's not the Riddler. The Riddler it's all about his intelligence, and I think that's why he hates Batman, but also like loves to challenge him. Batman does always trump him, but Riddler is about the idea that like, no, I am the smartest person, like everyone else is following my little riddles, like no one, I'm so above everyone that I can like literally manipulate every single person like, you know, they're on like a chessboard.
Right.
And I didn't get that here. I got it as more of like, that's not why he's doing anything. It's not about his intelligence. It's just about the fact that like, I've just worked out this like convoluted plan for revenge against the elite by like killing the mayor, who's like trying to do the same thing of like stamping out corruption. So it frankly doesn't make any sense that that's his target unless it's to create chaos. But again, it's like, that's the Joker's thing. The Riddler's not chaos. Just this Riddler is a combination of Christopher Nolan's Joker and Christopher Nolan's Bane.
Right. I see that.
And that's simply not the Riddler. His goal is to prove that Batman is not the smartest. I am smarter than the Batman. I can take him down. And the only aspect that I liked about this Riddler really is the scene, and we even talked about it right after we saw it. He takes a little bit of satisfaction in knowing that like, I clearly know that you are Bruce Wayne, but no one else can see it. Because he even says of like, I look at you, like now I'm looking at the real you, which I think was a reference to when they stared at each other in the church. Like Riddler knows that like this is what we've become, two orphans. I loved that where he's like frozen. He looks, the close-up slowly zooming in on the security camera like, oh my God, is this all captured? Because I truly thought the next thing was going to be like Batman's trying to like delete all of the footage somehow.
Right.
Like I thought that was going to go into it, but then Riddler plays it off because it doesn't matter. That's the grand joke. That's the grand riddle, that it's so obviously in front of everyone's faces, but no one can see it, but I can.
That's how a riddle is. I mean, it can seem hard on its surface, but once you figure it out, it's like, oh, how did I realize this immediately? You know?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So again, talking about the Riddler, that was my favorite part, and my favorite like little detail of his character is that. Now again, and this is not talking about Dano's performance. His performance is great for what Reeves as director wanted, and that's not really Paul Dano's choice necessarily. So I think he did great, and I would love to see this Riddler, which I think it's obvious that he's gonna have like, again, a revenge plot. Like he's not finished, because his scene with the Joker implies like, everyone, they love a good comeback like that. Like it's clearly going to be that he returns in some way to continue this expose of all of these secrets. And I think it's one of these things of like, he can't handle the fact that like there's so much lying, like the no more lies. He's tired of the dishonesty. I think that is a relevant political point, because we talk about it all the time. The US government is like the most corrupt system in the entire world, and they're blatant liars and killers. Reeve doesn't know what statement he's really making, because he actually makes Batman a defender of the status quo. Why isn't Batman doing all of the corruption exposing? He's just beating up street thugs. Not that that's not good. Like, you don't want random acts of violence everywhere, but it's like the real problem, like in the real world, is the elites that control everything and lie blatantly to ruin people's lives. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, It doesn't really add up to me. Again, it's like people call this movie brilliant and deep when it's really not. It's sick, but that doesn't make it deep.
Right. It's a dope movie, but it's not a deep movie. Like you look at Dark Knight, that's a deep movie. You look at BVS, that's a deep movie. But
Justice League. Yeah, Nolan's trilogy especially is grasping for these, and Zach, which is why they're friends and chose each other. Like Nolan chose Zach. It's because they're going for these higher literary, you could say, like themes. Why couldn't it just be Batman's trying to figure something out and stop Riddler from doing something?
I mean, it is that to an extent.
It is that, but it's like,
and it easily could have just been that.
Yes,
it would have been a sick movie.
Right. And I think that's where we get into, too many scenes. It's too long. Well, I shouldn't say too long, because my favorite films, BVS 3, JL 4. It's just because there's so much wasted time.
It just felt long because it's just a lot of scenes drag out heavily.
Yeah, it's like, bro, we watch BVS literally all the time, and it doesn't even feel like
it flies.
It doesn't feel long. But this movie, especially the third act, I'm literally like, dude, this is
like, is this done yet? And there's like 3 endings to this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can say the same thing with Zack Snyder's Justice League, but that's because most of them were supposed to be like after credit scenes are not even supposed to exist within the film. So they're just like all added at the end of his movie.
Yeah.
But this movie, like, it's just one cut of a film that released in theaters, but it feels like it has like 4 different endings, which is crazy.
It does. And I mean, that's another aspect that I don't like the ending at all. It's so anticlimactic and
Right.
lackluster.
It's a good scene, but
It is a good
but you
scene.
don't end it like that.
No.
I would end it like where he's driving into the city. You can have one last like fight scene against like thugs in this new like flooded Gotham City. And then you can have him just being perched on it like a gargoyle or something. And he's overlooking the bat symbol. It can be his silhouette from behind and overlooking the bat symbol in the sky. And then Gotham's skyline. And that'd be a sweet like money shot to end the movie instead of just some weird close up on Bruce or the Batman.
Yeah, I just was like, it just really contributed to like my just kind of not distaste, but we're ending it like this.
Right.
This is not an ending. I also didn't know what it meant. Was there supposed to be like a deeper statement about like Bruce's relationship with Selina? Because it doesn't really come up. Like they have all these moments of sexual tension. Like Bruce doesn't talk about her, or like it doesn't feel like he's really reflecting on it, or like it means something. You know,
the only way I see it meaning something is that like he definitely wants to go with her, but he knows like he'll do anything to make Gotham better for Gotham literally taking his parents away from him.
Yeah.
So he will die to try to, just like his parents did, to try to make Gotham a better place. Again, I think it would make a good scene towards the end of the movie, but I just don't like making it the last scene of the movie.
It tried to pay off this idea that like, you know, she's like this other half that he didn't know he needed. And it's like they go their separate ways on the motorcycles. But it's like, where was that? It was just the shadow of the idea of the bat and the cat. I just didn't get it.
You wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like it's just flat.
And my thing is, it's like this movie has a very similar like structure of how it's trying to be deep in terms to like the Joker that came out a few years ago, where it's like it's trying to get into like the elite and the wealthy and kill the rich.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Joker is also similar to.
It's similar to being deep in that retrospect. But I feel like the Joker does it so much better because that's actually like the full-on plot of the movie, where like tries to make it like a oh my type of moment in the Batman, where it's like, oh, it's all about the corrupt and like taking out the elite, and you're a part of it too, Batman. It just doesn't hit me. We're with the Joker. It's like this is literally the elite are running for office, are in charge of everything, but you're just gonna still like walk by some mentally ill person on the street and just laugh at them or kick them to the curb or whatever. And that's why
and they're poor, they have nothing.
Right. And I think the Joker demonstrates that so much better.
Yes.
Where it literally causes an uprising.
Yeah, you don't get that feel.
I just think it sprung at us in this movie. Like it's like obviously like throughout the whole movie, Riddler's taking out the elite, and that's fine. But then it gets to a point of it's like that's the main purpose. It's like they're just corrupt, but it's also he's like, oh, but I'm an orphan, so I don't like them because they're rich and powerful either.
Yeah, and again, that just ties back to like, so I'm gonna try to assassinate the mayor who's trying to accomplish the same goals as me. That doesn't make any fucking sense. So
Right.
Pardon my French. Like it just doesn't. And I'm tired of people pretending that this movie's fucking brilliant because it's not.
It's good.
But these flaws in the script, you need these foundations first before the movie can be good. You need to understand the message.
At the end of the day, this movie just tries to do too much, and that's
of course,
and that's the problem with it, where it can easily just simply be this Batman
detective
story trying to figure out like the Riddler can still have this meaning of like taking out the corrupt and powerful because he wants to clean up Gotham, but he does it in a bad way by murdering these people, where Batman would do it in a different light.
But again, even with that, it's like, bro, just pick a different villain.
That too. I mean, I agree. Batman has an insanely large rogues gallery where you can really pick anyone but him. Like I feel like
dude, Anarchy.
Yeah,
that's the closest in the idea. Or Dent.
Yeah, Dent easily. I mean, again,
because his thing is like a political assassination attempt.
Right. It can literally the movie could open with like the whole Dent getting acid poured on his face, and then
because he's trying to prosecute the mob, and they're connected to the politicians and the police, and so it's all a cover-up. As always, we're just spitballing and we come up with better ideas for the plots.
Yeah, but then it could also just be literally Hush, where it's literally him being a serial killer, taking out these people connected to the death of his father.
Yeah,
you could literally get flashbacks of him with Bruce.
Yes,
their youth. I just think that would be a better way. It could literally be this story almost to a T. You just make Hush the villain, and then you have flashbacks with like Bruce Wayne and Thomas Elliot, and then their fathers also talking to each other, and just having that whole dynamic of like, oh, they were close, but then like, what's this connection? Like, was it like a similar connection to like the Wayne's death and also Elliot's father's death? I think that'd be an interesting thing as well. It goes with the whole serial killer element that was from this movie. And it's fine. Like the Riddler's a character you can obviously change if you want to. And it works for the most part in this movie, but it's just also, it doesn't have to be Riddler. And that's the problem.
And it's not Dano, it's the writing.
Right. Because
I'm fine with him as Riddler. It's perfect. It's great.
And he's creepy as hell. And I like that. I like changing it like somewhat. He doesn't have to be like this Jim Carrey Riddler.
Freak.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be like eccentric or like all over the place. Like this Riddler I liked was super creepy. Like again, one of my favorite scenes is literally him, like literally the whole city hall sequence with Bruce going to the funeral. Mm-hmm. And Riddler sending the car in. You find out the DA has this bomb attached to him, and then later on, excellent, all excellent. And then it gets to the point of the Batman coming in later that night. And I just love that sequence of literally the Batman answering a FaceTime call from the Riddler.
And it's on TV.
And it's on TV. It's crazy. It's cool. Like that feels like Batman to me. Like it literally felt like a comic book.
It was awesome.
That scene. Because I liked how like this Riddler's going nuts. He's like, answer these 3 riddles within 2 minutes.
And then that leads to the great sequence, which I was nervous about. Ended up being a dope sequence where he's trapped in the GCPD, where he knows like several of these cops are completely corrupt, but he's like, I have to get out of here. And Gordon's like, yeah, you got to get out of here.
And that's a fantastic scene, because that's like how Gordon's like, I trust you more than anyone in here now.
Yes. And I love their relationship. Right.
No, like Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson's like the Gordon and Batman duo is fantastic in this movie.
Yes. I will say, like we said from the beginning, it should have been Cranston as Gordon. He literally looks just like Jim Gordon, and Jeffrey Wright should have played Lucius Fox. Like to the level of where Ben looks just like from the comics. Those two would be ripped from the comic pages.
Literally a Bryan Cranston and Pattinson talking to each other like at the bat signal would literally feel like Batman Year One to me.
Of course.
And of course, Bryan Cranston voices Gordon in that graphic novel animation film.
Yeah.
It would just be perfect. Like Bryan Cranston, like he has that voice to be a Gordon, and he looks like him too. Like you watch Breaking Bad, literally just have hair on his head.
Like season 5 Walt.
Yeah, season 5 Walt, or
season 1.
Yeah, I that's what I was about to say. When he finds out he has cancer, like he has the like you can take off the glasses or leave them on, don't matter.
I like him with the glasses.
Right, but then it's just the mustache. Like literally season 1 Walt, I think looks like Gordon, but he could possibly buff up a little bit too, which would work. Again, I like Jeffrey Wright's Gordon. Like this isn't us shitting on it, but we just think it could be.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm not criticizing his performance at all.
It just had potential to be better. But again, they have a great dynamic within this film.
Yes. I think that really touched on a lot of it. I just think that the overcomplication of the stuff with Thomas Wayne, it was literally like 4 different like red herrings at once. It's like, okay, is he corrupt? Okay, did he get Thomas Elliot's father killed? Because I loved the part like from Long Halloween where Thomas Wayne did save Falcone's life, because it's like, I know he's a piece of shit, but like, I'm a good, like the Hippocratic Oath type of thing, which is a great scene where he laughs. He's like, yeah, the Hippocratic Oath. Okay.
Right.
That's why he did it. That was awesome. Like he lies about it. And then you talk to Alfred and he's like, no, he lied about it. The scene then doesn't feel as impactful when Falcone's explaining it to Bruce, when Bruce just goes without the bat suit, goes to the club.
Right.
Because I love that scene too. But it's like, but then you kind of make it not mean anything.
I agree. When it comes to the screenplay, I really feel the whole going after Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne stuff could frankly easily be taken out of the story or taken out of the movie as a whole, because it literally just gets you to a point of having this emotional moment with Bruce and Alfred, which is a good scene because you have two I
loved that scene
because you have 2 elite actors in this scene, like having a heart-to-heart moment. I don't know. I just feel like the whole coming after Thomas Wayne because you just have it so he was going to make this renewal project.
It's like a slush fund. It becomes basically just a political slush fund.
Right. Which was also supposed to help out the orphans at some point, but then he gets killed. But I don't know. I see it as just a way for the Riddler and Bruce to have a closer connection, being like, oh, we're both orphans, but you don't know what being an orphan truly is like. I don't know. It's fine. I just feel like there's just a lot of stuff you can cut out of this because, again, it's just it's a movie that drags on because there's way too much going on. The first hour and 45 minutes of this movie, I am deeply in love with. And then until the end, there's like scenes I really like and enjoy, but for the most part, it's just messy.
It is a messy film, and I have to say my biggest thing with, and I put this on like Letterboxd too, is like I hate the final action set piece.
Right. No,
I hate it.
I think from the point of the Batman jumping into the Gotham Square Garden, something in the way starts playing until he lights the flare, I would say, in the Square Garden. That piece in time, I think, is the worst part of this movie. Like, it should have been this more epic action set piece. It has cool shots. Like, that's really it.
And my biggest thing was it didn't have any stakes.
Sure.
Because, and for one, Riddler's not even there.
And that's a problem. Like, but the only reason I'm cool with that,
okay,
it's because he's the smartest guy in the city, because he literally goes to Arkham, which is on like an island outside of Gotham while it's getting flooded.
So yeah, I mean, I like the idea that he would totally have the contingency. I was just so surprised and disappointed, and like, dude, I don't care right now. I don't care what's happening. I feel no thrill.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And it's a Batman movie. It should have an excellent third act, because like, even if you don't have a super physical villain like the Riddler, you can make it interesting as hell, like with the Dark Knight, with what's going on with the two boats, Batman going through the tower where the Joker is.
Yeah, and you've got the play of like the feds are after both Batman and Joker.
Right.
Like he has to fight the feds and the clowns.
As well,
the clowns have set it up so where the feds are shooting at innocent people. Like there's so many like cross plots, but this is literally just a bunch of like Redditors and like QAnon people dressed as the Riddler just shooting random civilians. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What is happening? I was seriously just like, that's my question. I was like, what is going on? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
I would have loved some kind of like booby trap type of thing where he has to solve riddles.
Right. Like we brought
solve riddles from the Riddler.
Right. And we brought this up. It could easily have been one thing where he gets captured, floods the city. Let's say Batman's in like a haunted maze type thing or haunted house. And there's like riddles left and right they has to solve. And then towards the end, it could be him saving this mayor's life, or literally Gotham floods. And like it's a timed thing where he tries to do both.
Yeah.
But he would fail at one of them, which would probably end up in the flooding of Gotham. And that's how you still get this ending. And then he can go over to where the civilians are heading towards, which we can still have it be Gotham Square Garden. And you can still have that entire final like set piece of him like taking them to the roof and trying to help them out. You don't need it to be the super action set piece, but it could still be an action set piece with this solving riddle stuff, because
it's a mental challenge of Batman.
Right, it's the mental challenge. And then if we can have it be like levels to like a video game in a sense, where he's solving these riddles, then it can turn into him taking down thugs, and then he goes on to the next riddle. Like he has a time limit. The second he goes into the next room, he has to take out thugs and then try to solve the riddle at the same time.
Yeah, or like even do something where like, okay, you do this, but now there's a bomb like over here. Can you get over there, solve the combo? Oh, but now I've set another thing off and there's a different politician over here. Or like, who's more worth it, Batman?
No,
that's will you save the mayor or will you save all the civilians? Can you do both? And that's what you were saying. He tries to do both, but fails at one. Then we lead into like 0 Year Dark City type of shit.
Right. Where you can literally have the exact same ending, where it's like literally the shots of him carrying the people out, and
which are excellent. And
you can still have the same like dialogue going on, like the narration from Pattinson.
Yeah.
And this would be a better third act, because it's literally feels more like the Joker in this incident, instead of just trying to be like this psycho like Redditor like guy that a ton of people follow and will literally commit like genocide for this guy or what, you know?
Yeah, they're gonna commit domestic terrorism for what? Who are they? Don't know.
There's some random dweebs on the internet who hate society, bro.
And this is not an insult per se to Matt Reeves, but it's like it's very out of touch.
It is. Like, again,
it's very like, dude, what are you parodying from the internet? It's like, it is a parody. It's not accurate to what is it supposed to be? Like they're on like the dark web and they're like talking openly about like buying guns and stuff. It's like, what is happening?
Like, again, to me, I feel like we can have the exact whole movie except for having this Gotham Square Garden fight and just do what we just said. And it's literally the perfect Batman movie, in my opinion.
I agree, dude. Literally the entire, like what you were saying, that first hour 45 mark, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I am getting everything I hoped would happen.
And then again, by like doing this whole like you gotta solve this riddle, fight these guys, like this would feel like the Riddler being the super villain to Batman, while still being in that character of being the Riddler, feeling like the Riddler, and he doesn't have to be this physical threat to Batman like a Bane or a Solomon Grundy or Deathstroke or whatever, you know?
Of course. And I think a big part too, Reeves gets this wrong. The Riddler is not chaos. The Riddler is hyper order. Well, Batman is more of the logical. The Riddler is like this ego obsessed, like his ego in that he's so brilliant leads to these convoluted plots that again, it's all just a test of Batman's IQ. Like it's a test of his problem solving.
Right. Well, it's the Riddler.
It's not this he's not a chaos agent,
because
like the Joker.
Because what it would be,
order.
What would it be with like our ending for the Batman? It makes him the guy with the ego trying to prove that he's smarter than Batman, or you could be smarter than me, Batman. Prove me wrong. But it's not him being chaos, which is the Joker, which is what we get in this movie.
I'm sorry that we have to break the news to people, but I'm really getting tired, very tired of the masturbation of this movie. Is just absurd.
Right.
It is absurd.
No, it's like these people have all forgotten that The Dark Knight exists.
The Dark Knight exists. Like literally.
Which is a much better movie. I will say Pattinson is miles better than Christian Bale's Batman.
No question.
Miles better. But like you have
a script. He's not a better writer than Christopher Nolan. He's
not close.
Even the best like Apes movies, he's just co-writing it. Like it's somebody else is the main screenwriter.
Reeves is a great director.
He's a great filmmaker.
Right. He doesn't make the best scripts, I will say, per se. Like, because then again, like with War for the Planet of the Apes, he just co-writes it, and he doesn't even write Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
And I have problems with Dawn. I think that's another ending film because Dawn is an excellent movie until the ending.
Right.
Which I think drops the ball. And that's one where it ends too early. We were talking about how it's only like a 2:10 runtime. Right. And I'm like, make that a 2.5. Give me the battle.
Easy.
It's War for the Planet, or it's Dawn. It's literally a reversal. It's like, bro, make that movie longer and cut this by a good 15 minutes.
Right. To go into that a little bit, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes feels like this by not having the best ending where it's either cut short or we don't get that satisfaction. But then we get a film like War for the Planet of the Apes, which quite possibly has one of the best endings ever.
I know. I was in tears when we watched it.
I don't know, Matt Reeves. Like, I don't want to say you're bad with endings. Because you have literally crafted one of the best endings I've seen in cinema.
Rewatching War like right before this movie, dude, I hadn't seen it since we watched it at the end of high school, and I was like, dude, this is truly incredible, where there's barely any action, but you are sucked in.
Calling a movie
is what the big opening sequence, and then Woody Harrelson tries to assassinate. He kills the son.
Right, but that's like it. It's weird for having a movie called War for the Planet of the Apes, and there's like barely.
I would have switched the titles. We talked about
easy, no question.
But it's more of like the mental battle is what he was hinting at, like the battle of the wills between the will of the humans and the will of the apes. That's the war.
I think you call Rise of the Planet of the Apes Dawn. You call Dawn War, and then the last one Rise.
Yeah, it's just completely reversed.
Completely reversed. It is what it is.
Which is weird. But again, I think that's speaks to the problem of, I don't know, it speaks to the problem of like the plotting and like what the payoff of the ending of the film is meant to say.
Again, we should probably get off War, but I'll have one last thing, or Planet of the Apes in general. I will have one more thing to say about it. I think what you just said, like kind of like structurally, I feel like it's somewhat like how the sequel trilogy of Star Wars was. You had a filmmaker, you had an idea with the first movie, but then you get a new filmmaker involved and it becomes kind of a different thing. The sequel trilogy is not good when it comes to Star Wars, but there's an excellent foundation there, but then it loses its like vision somewhat because you bring in a whole different filmmaker to take.
Yeah, it loses its core identity.
But it's still great. Like, again, I think it's one of the best movie trilogies of all time. I will say it's a shame that Andy Serkis isn't in the Batman that much.
I was shocked. He's in 4 scenes.
Yeah, max 4 scenes.
They talk twice in the Batcave. He gets blown up. They talk in the hospital. You don't see him again.
And they talk like one time in the tower when he's cracking the cipher code.
Right. Oh, yeah. And they talk like in the morning.
Right. But that's like it, which is, I think, is a damn shame because I always love like an Alfred and Bruce relationship. Like even like you look at Batman versus Superman, you get way more Jeremy Irons in that movie, which isn't even, and then Justice League too. But I mean, Justice League is a 4-hour long movie. But again, it's
I will say like, for Justice League, I wish he was in it more. What I loved about them though is that this Batman and Alfred, he doesn't need this Alfred. What Zach gets that I love is that, and how I would kind of write them and how I do kind of write them, is that Bruce has brought him along in this whole charade. Like they've become partners in crime. Like they need each other. Where, you know, I don't deserve you, Alfred. No, you don't. Like, no, sir, you don't. Like they love each other.
Of course. Faith, Alfred.
I just didn't feel that. I mean, you get the hints of it. I don't know. I always like the Alfred in his ear, where it's like you have that and you hint to, and you clearly show that he's had this MI6 like experience because he's in the background, like running all these like tasks of like, okay, let me pull up like the map. Like you got enemies up here. I can see your HUD. Okay, well, I mapped out the schematics this way, go this way, like that type of stuff where, you know, you don't get Oracle yet, but like, because I love Oracle just because of the Arkham games.
Right.
But that's the Alfred and Bruce that I love. They're partners in crime in a way, but Alfred's kind of like reluctantly, it's like, you know, it's like a playful thing, not playful in what you're thinking, but it's like it's an interplay rather.
Right. And then like, I feel like this Alfred, I like him because it's Andy Serkis, right? But this Alfred doesn't feel like he has like a reason to be in this Batman's life. And that's a problem. But I would like it if he's trying to be that angel on your shoulder being like, Bruce, I don't know why you're doing this, because it's still like a young Batman, right? So it's like, this is year 2 where I feel like this could still be like a skeptical type of Alfred of this whole shebang.
So that was the scene that I loved together where he's like, you know, if you don't stop, like there'll be none of you left. That was great. And he's like, I don't care what happens to me.
Right.
And then Alfred's like, stop this. Like, this isn't you. That scene is great. Like, I love that. I love that exchange.
Right.
Again, I do like it. I think what we're talking about is just the more like deeper comic level aspects where, again, Alfred is helping him with this stuff. This Alfred is not helping him be Batman. They do kind of have it where he helps him kind of crack the code, right? They're going over it.
Right. He's just a smart guy helping him out.
Yeah, he's just an intelligent guy and like wants to help him. And maybe it'll be introduced. So maybe we're speaking too soon. And I'll even admit
it is the first movie. You want to build more on the character of like what this Batman's like, as well as like introduce a bunch of like the crime underworld. You have Catwoman in there. You have the Riddler. You even have a Joker tease in there. And then of course you have the Penguin, who we have not really talked about at all in filming this.
No, but I think that's kind of good because he's so great.
No, yeah, like no, the Penguin.
There's no issue except he should be British, of course. You hire a British actor,
right?
So fucking make him British.
Right. He's still great. Like he looks the part, he acts the part. Again, I love the whole Batmobile chase scene.
Amazing.
We didn't really talk about that, but that again, that's a huge highlight of it.
And again, everything that we've said is a crit. We value nuance. Just because I criticize something, I'm criticizing it because I want it to be perfect. Because I'm not criticizing it because it's bad. There's 2 different forms.
Right, because we know it's close to being
so close.
Perfect. It's close.
It needs another draft of the script. I say that about a lot of movies, like something like, okay, we've been praising Nolan, but like Tenet, the third act is kind of flat for me. I think he needed to make it more succinct and he needed to rewrite that, give it one more draft, set it up a little bit more, make it a little more clear. This you need to cut back.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, again, like this third act is very weak until a certain point.
Yeah, it is I think it is a very Tenet scenario of like, it's filmed cool. It's a cool concept, but it's just, it doesn't land.
And then the absolute ending's good, which I feel in this movie too, where it's like, again, like Batman carrying the people, saving.
Oh my God, I loved it.
It's so brilliant. I love the voiceover. Like
the shot where the girl's like grabbing his arm and he's like, no, it's just his gaze of like, no, it's okay. That was beautiful.
That's excellent. Like that feels like the hero Batman, not this vigilante.
Realizes.
That's the moment where he stops being a vigilante. He becomes a hero.
Reeves was getting to a point where I was like, you're going to miss it because Batman is fear. Superman is hope. Wonder Woman is hope. Batman is a different type of hope. It's more of an empowerment. Superman and Wonder Woman are saviors.
Well, that's where Matt Reeves gets it at the absolute beginning, where he's like, I am the shadows. I'm a nocturnal animal. I am fear. I'm vengeance. Where he literally just seeing that signal, it's not a call, it's a warning or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And again, that's not to say that Batman cannot inspire hope, because he does.
He should be able to, like, if he saves a woman like getting attacked in an alleyway, that should be someone who would hug him afterwards or something. Like, thank you. Like, that's a hero. Like, don't be afraid. Like, the people attacking you should be afraid.
Okay, this is where Nolan gets it right, where he's like, the Batman that I want is this city just showed you that it's full of people ready to believe in good because I do. That is the type of hope. Batman is an empowering type of hope where like
he's a symbol.
Because he's just a man. You know what I mean? Like you can destroy the man, but you can't destroy this symbol.
It's a symbol of justice.
Yes, it's a symbol of the fear. Batman is the empowering hope where it does take that idea of like, no, you don't have to be afraid. It's people that do wrong that should be afraid of justice.
That's why I think Batman's the heart and soul of like the Justice League, because he's like a good like culmination of all of them in a sense. And then also being himself, like he's the man, but he's also be able to literally stand up to these gods and lead them.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I just love how him and Clark play off of each other.
They have different ideas of justice.
Yes. Where Batman is more vengeance oriented.
Right. And fear, but still has hope. Of course, Clark's more the Boy Scout of it.
It just comes back to the idea that Batman's hope is that he inspires people to fight back. Superman is more about like, valuing humanity and stuff like that. They all heroes like help people see their own worth. But Superman is, again, he is the Christ figure.
But he's a different animal because
Batman is not, obviously not any sort of Christ figure. Yeah, it's just a different type. And again, I'm sorry, I don't like the campy Batman. That's like, it's just not for me. Like, that's why I like Zach, because he's a hero. But like when the cops first find like the human trafficking victims, he saved us, but we're not coming out. The monster's still here.
Right.
He's that frightening.
But again,
he does the right thing, but he's brutal and he's frightening and he has so much hatred for evil.
Right. Well, this is also the absolutely destroyed Batman.
Right. And of course that context is there. Shall we end on sort of give like a final rating and like wrap up?
We can just end on the Batman for sure. So overall, I think it's an excellent movie. It just has some very bad script problems towards the later act of the film. So like when it gets to the third act, like the whole climax of it, which should be like the best part of your movie,
right,
it just falls flat for me. It has awesome scenes in there. It feels like after watching a 2 hour and like
I'm pretty sure it's 2:49.
Right. But I'm just saying, like watching like 2 hours and like 10 minutes into this movie, and then I'm like pretty let down by like the main climax of it until like the absolute ending of this movie. So it's like I just feel like I'm taken out of this movie for a solid 20 to 30 minutes.
Exactly. At the most pivotal point.
Right.
That can't happen.
No, not especially not for a Batman movie where you should have this epic detective style action set piece. But it is what it is. Again, like for a solid hour 45 to like 2 hours of this movie, I think it's a perfect Batman movie. Pattinson's now my second favorite Batman.
I view him as again, he's the young Ben to me.
Right. I think
they could be the same.
Potentially.
Because it sets up Ben's fall so well.
It's literally perfect to me. Like every aspect of it, like the Batmobile chase, the whole opening sequence where like with the open dialogue, like the narration,
the fight with the fight in the subway,
just hearing those footsteps, like him coming down and then coming out of the shadows after giving this whole like monologue, basically how saying I am the shadows. And then when we finally hear him actually talk as the Batman, he says, I'm vengeance, and it's badass. But yeah, that's really it for me. I would give it probably like a 7.5. It's nearing an 8 for me. So let's just say 7.75. I'm just going to say that out of 10.
Okay. Like I said, we talked about it before recording, but we share basically the same thoughts. This is my favorite character in all of fiction. So any haters out there to these opinions, I probably know the character more than you. So there is that. I wanted to love it so badly. Batman v Superman is my favorite film of all time. The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan is the film that inspired me to devote my life to filmmaking. So I think I know what I'm talking about. I've seen those movies 30 times each. This simply is not up to par in terms of storytelling. And to reiterate at the beginning, all of the other production elements of this film are excellent. And I'm going to go, my original Letterboxd review was 4 out of 5. I changed that to a 3.5 out of 5 just upon reflecting on the movie for a week and seeing all the public reactions to it. Stop jerking this movie off, people. You don't know what you're talking about. It just simply objectively has too many flaws in the story. And even, I was talking about this with Daniel. He agrees with us, everything we're saying. Another filmmaker that agrees with what I'm saying. And I think that if we're going to go the 10 scale, though, I'm looking at 6.5 to 7 out of 10. And I'm hoping, because of all the people that I've seen this from, the more repeat viewings, you like it more. I don't anticipate that happening. I think it'll probably stay the same of about a 6 to 7 out of 10.
Right. I just saw it. So, and I think literally exactly the same for me. Again, on my letterbox, I have it at 4, and I have it slightly below it out of 10. I wouldn't give it a 3.5. I wouldn't, but because I think
I don't like the 5 scale. I think the 5 scale is not accurate enough. I would give the film, again, around a 70%.
Again, like with the letterbox, doing it out of 5, like it's a 70% or it's an 80%, where I would like to have it somewhere in the middle. Like,
sure,
I'd like it to be like a 75% or a 78%. Like, it's close, but it's.
And even when I say 70, it's a high 70.
Because I like thinking of it more so on like a grading scale, like where you get like a 92 on a history paper or something, you get an A. Like, it's not perfect work, but it's good. This is not an A.
This is a B.
It's like a low B plus. It's like a B, lower B, middle B. It's a solid flick, and
it is.
And I think it gets the character of Batman pretty close to perfect.
Yes, Gotham's perfect.
Gotham's perfect. Like, I like Catwoman, Penguin.
Character designs are perfect.
Right. All the characters are pretty much perfect in this movie, except for like the Riddler. But I like what they did with him. But again, I still think you can do somewhat what they were trying to do with this, but still make him feel more like the Riddler by having a better third act with him.
Again, it hints on what I love about Riddler, where he's like, I know who you are, but that's the riddle. Same with Joker, in a way where he's like, Joker and Riddler are both kind of like, well, okay, they are different, but Riddler's like, I know who you are. I easily figured it out, but I'm not going to tell anyone because I want to see if people can figure it out. Joker is, even if I know, I don't want to know because you're just too much fun. Like it ruins the fun. You only matter to me as Batman.
Right. And then we have potential for an awesome sequel. I think it's going to be like a end of this trilogy type thing, where at the end of the next movie, the ending of that movie is somehow Riddler and Joker breaking out. And that's going to make a very dynamic duo where you have the intelligence with the chaos.
Yes. Where I think it'll be like they have a power dynamic where Riddler is obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but Riddler is more intelligent on like a intricacy level, and Joker is more, he has that unpredictable nature. And I think that it'll be one of those things where Riddler thinks he's in charge, but Joker is actually like, the fuck do you think you're talking about? Like, I'm his greatest love. I am Batman, but the other side of the coin. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Here's also my review. People can say I'm hating on this movie. I'm going to buy the 4K Steelbook, so go fuck yourself.
Right. Like it has too many epic scenes to not like this movie. Like, we like this movie. I like this movie, but I also have nuance. I am devoted to the truth. And the truth is, there's a lot of problems. So to do a little epilogue about the Joker, because he is kind of like an epilogue in this movie, it's absolutely ridiculous that Reeve said that they've already encountered each other. Absurd. That's just passed over. Absolutely absurd. Right.
You don't show the first interaction of his arch nemesis. Absurd.
Right.
I don't think it's that good of a casting, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite, so I'm going to let the performance speak for itself.
Until
I just wouldn't have casted Barry.
Agreed. You could easily get Defoe in there where they have insane chemistry from the Lighthouse.
Another missed opportunity, bro. That would make this universe utterly perfect.
Bryan Cranston as Gordon, Pattinson Batman, and then Defoe's Joker would be perfect.
I would be in heaven.
Or
and then you get Batista as Bane. Perfect. Yeah. And I don't like that he's like this deformed person from birth. I think that Batman is intrinsic to the birth of the Joker, which is part of the sort of tragic nature of their relationship, is that Batman's instilling of fear. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he causes Red Hood to be terrified, and that's what, he runs and he falls into the vat and all of that. Right. So Batman is at the birth of the Joker. And this is it's just not right for me as someone that's loved the character for 15 years.
Oh yeah, he's up there for me for sure.
I mean, him and Soups are the number 1 and 2.
Yeah, so. him, Soups, and Spider-Man are all my.
We have the same top 3.
They're all 1A, 1B, 1C. Like,
yeah.
To me, they're all perfect superheroes. So
yeah, exactly.
Those are literally 3 of my favorite fictional characters ever. Like, you throw in some Star Wars in there, and that'll be it. But yeah.
So again, I think as always, Aaron, we are the kings of nuance when it comes to these takes. I mean, even with BVS and JL, I have criticisms.
Right.
There are things that I would have maybe cut here, give me a different line here,
change a little bit of something here.
Yes, nothing is above criticism.
But we can like something infinitely more than what we see in the Batman.
Yeah,
which is still
Yeah, that's what it is. People just need to again, I'm sorry if this is insulting, but this is the normies like masterpiece.
Right.
Just like The Dark Knight, where everyone's like, this is the greatest film of all time. You're insane. It's a great movie. You're insane. It is not that good. This movie is not, and this movie isn't as good as The Dark Knight. Sorry.
I don't even think it's close.
It's not even close.
But it's a better Batman
It's a better Batman film.
I think it's a better Batman movie than a movie, is what I would say.
Yeah, The Dark Knight is a far superior film. This is a better Batman film because it is closer to the comics. And I will say, I guess, final closing note on Pattinson, he is the perfect mix of Ben and Bale.
Yes.
He's a mix of the top three, or he's the mix of the two in the top three.
Right. And that's why he's in between them.
That's why he's in between them. I really don't have that much more to say.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that'll do it, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the Batman. Leave your review out of 10 down below. So
give us your own criticisms. I want to hear if people agree, like honestly,
right.
or if people notice the same things.
If you don't agree,
or if you didn't,
fine.
Tell us why we're wrong. Honestly, I only seen it once, so maybe I missed stuff.
I want to be proven wrong. Please. Yeah. Please prove me wrong. All right. But again, like and subscribe, guys, and we'll catch y'all really soon. Bye-bye.
Peace.